Chers auditeurs,
Dear listeners,
bonjour.
welcome in comdarchipodcast Season 3
Saison 3, dans le monde fascinant des architectes.
and in the architectural projects.
Je suis Anne-Charlotte Deponte, passionnée d'architecture et docteur des universités en histoire de l'archi.
I am one of the spokespersons of Anne-Charlotte, who is a PhD in architecture history.
Merci
Thank you
d'être avec moi aujourd'hui.
to be with us today.
Et
And
maintenant,
now,
lundi en français, place au talent.
and Wednesday, let's talk projects. In English, of course.
Bienvenue dans Comme d'Archi.
Dear listeners, good morning. This is Esther on behalf of Anne-Charlotte. It's good to meet you again in Season 3 of Comme d'Archi episode 79. Today we are going to talk about an interesting and digressive subject in Comme d'Archi, sustainable development applied to scenography. To do this, I will read a text written by Frédéric Beauclair. Allow me to introduce him beforehand and in accordance with Anne-Charlotte Deponte's introduction in her interview in French, because it is also appropriate to tell you about the human context. Frédéric Beauclair is an interior architect scenographer. He works in the same studio and sometimes on the same subjects with his son Thomas Beauclair, a designer that we could describe as polymorphic. Frédéric is the son of Henri Beauclair, and Thomas is the grandson of Henri Beauclair. Dear listeners, let us remember that Henri Beauclair was an associate of the architects Marcel Lodz and Paul Deponte, Anne-Charlotte Deponte's uncle. Lodz, Deponte, Beauclair had all three signed many achievements of the Reconstruction period, and one of the most emblematic, the Maison des Sciences de l'Homme, 54 Boulevard Raspail in Paris. Anne-Charlotte Deponte had worked on this work in metal structure as part of her doctoral thesis, a work that was recently saved and rehabilitated. And if there was a lot of Deponte in the project, it was clear that history owes Henri Beauclair these futuristic and ingenious grandmother metal shutters. The historic architects called them that, not without humor. Perhaps Thomas has inherited his grandfather's ingenuity in his approach since he works on objects like an augmented designer, inventing, for example, a motorcycle helmet that takes you home at night, a very designer watercress harvester, pinna that filters water and or prepares plant decoctions thanks to the unknown virtues of the pine tree, or an interior design project for a major champagne brand. Frédéric, like his son, graduated from the École nationale supérieure des arts appliqués et des métiers d'art in Paris, in the interior architecture section. He opened his agency in 1988 after a passage in 1989 within the direction of the Museums of France. He specialized in the scenography of exhibition. This experience opened up an exciting career in many museums and national palaces. In 33 years, he designed and produced more than 280 temporary exhibitions and permanent installations, covering more than 100,000 square meters in 112 different locations, both in France and abroad, notably in Canada and Hong Kong. He has designed the scenography for several major exhibitions, such as Sciences and Curiosities at the Court of Versailles, at the Château de Versailles, Fashioning Fashion at the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris, and Art Déco, the France-China connection in Hong Kong. He also has to his credit La Galerie des Carrosses at the Château de Versailles, an example of permanent scenography. In each of his creations, Frédéric Beauclair has chosen a refined architecture, sculpted by light, which serves the beauty of the works on display. So, dear listeners, you will have understood that today we are taking a step aside. Here, the filiation takes us from the large scale to the smallest, from architecture to the object, and to precision, from innovation to history and vice versa, a digressive and fascinating issue. And now for Frédéric Beauclair's point of view on the subject of scenography and sustainable development. In the current context, where the concern for sustainable development is finally installed, temporary exhibitions must take it into account and prohibit waste by reusing the maximum amount of materials. Unfortunately, this is not a good idea, because the wood, the formats, and the state of the different scenographic elements are often not suitable for new creations. There is, however, an alternative solution, little used, which is the most profitable in time and creates no waste. It is the concept of the traveling exhibition, designed to be built and rebuilt indefinitely with the same architectural elements, by simple recombination. For example, I experimented with this concept between 1990 and 1997 with the exhibition Bijoux des Régions de France, which, after having toured the Hexagon, passing through the Musée du Luxembourg in Paris, ended its journey in Montreal, Canada. For 7 years, we reused the same structure without ever having to rebuild a single element. All the museums partnering in the operation pooled their efforts and thus reduced the operating costs. I have since continued to work on this concept, designing a vocabulary of spaces, atmospheres, and light corresponding to the theme of the exhibitions. It then becomes easy, like a mechanic, to adapt to the different spaces of the successive reception areas. It is therefore important to design an onboard lighting system that allows the same luminous atmosphere to be found in all locations. The work of the ceilings allows us to always find the same spatial proportions. This same ceiling also serves as a light reflector and cable conduit. The creation and arrangement of light boxes, harmoniously distributed throughout the exhibition, is a simple and very cheap solution. It allows to create an original atmosphere, but also to insert the signage in a clear, readable, and attractive way. To illustrate this concept, I chose to talk about the traveling exhibition Giving, Wishes and Gifts to the Gods in Roman Gaul, which I realized in 2015 and which ended in 2017. The principle of this scenography is that it can be assembled with the help of 1 or 2 people and does not use any screws. The route is made up of regularly distributed luminous totems, ensuring the general luminosity while illuminating the archaeological objects in lateral ways. Metal profiles link the different modules and are nested in wooden supports. This creates a set of aerial-looking platforms. On the profiles are placed trays supporting bell-shaped display cases where the archaeological objects are placed. This modular system, allowing future evolutions, having worked so well in itinerancy, that we decided, my son and I, to reuse it in a perennial way for the scenographic installation of the archaeological site of the Salted Fountains in Saint-Père-sous-Vézelay in Burgundy, our family village. This project was very important to us in human terms. Indeed, we designed, realized, and installed this project voluntarily to contribute to the valorization of our village. This story tells, on the one hand, that all disciplines related to architecture can integrate sustainability approaches. It shows, on the other hand, how much the affiliation, when it is carefully maintained, can generate fruitful, talented, and durable collaborations. We were very happy to share with you, with humility, this point of view of one of the most important professionals in the field of scenography in France, and also a story of filiation. Long live Beauclair's talents, and let us dedicate this issue to the memory of Henri Beauclair. Dear listeners, thank you for tuning in. Let's meet again next week for a new Comme d'Archi in English. And until then, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Thanks to Julien Rebours, sound engineer, who is collaborating with us today. Don't forget to tune in to our previews on Instagram at comdarchipodcast. If you enjoy this podcast, don't hesitate to promote it by giving it 5 stars and a little comment on Apple Podcast or on your favorite podcast platform. And above all, subscribe to listen to all of our episodes for free. See you soon, and until then, take care of yourself.